I think we'll start. I was told to give a talk today about the Day of Judgment. Now, I'll keep it short, 10-15 minutes, just so we can benefit all from it, just by thinking about it. And I wanted to give the talk not as a message to you, but as a message to myself as well. Because I wanted to think about how does the Day of Judgment motivate me in my life, in my day-to-day life. I'll give a short talk talking about the Day of Judgment, the description of it, one short description of it, some of the lessons we can learn from it, how we can apply it to our life. And inshallah, at the end, I'll ask around what you think the conclusion of this talk should be. So inshallah, we can all input to that. Hopefully the elders can input to that conclusion. And if at any point you want to make a comment, feel free to do so. So why is this topic important? I think we all live in this country and we all face challenges at work, at school, in our life, family, in our relationships, married, children, and sometimes it becomes very difficult sticking to Islam. Now, the Day of Judgment has been described to us very clearly, and it should be used as a motivation because this is the end point where we're all going to be standing. And all our decisions should be based upon how we're going to feel on that day. So to feel that, you need to have a description about that day, so we can really affect us emotionally. So what's going to happen on the Day of Judgment? Allah tells us in many hadiths by Muhammad that on the Day of Judgment, the sun will be brought close. It will be like about a mile from them. So you can imagine that. When I'm reading this, we need to think that this is not like a fairy tale. This is not like Humpty Dumpty and the Seven Dwarfs, is it? Or something else. These are not fairy stories. This is actually going to happen to all of us. Our parents, us, you, our children, our best friends, our teachers in school. It's going to happen to everyone. So we're going to be standing there. The sun's going to be so close to us. And mankind will sweat according to what they've done. So you know when you sweat, you will sweat on that day. And sweat will reach to the ankles of some people. And for some people it will be up to their waist. Some people it will up to their mouths. So this is actually going to happen. People around us are going to be on that day standing with no clothes on, sweating out of fear. And depending on how good we were in this life, the sweat will reach ankles here or all the way up to our earlobes. And that's actually going to happen. And Allah Muhammad says, mankind will stand before Allah, the Rabb of this world, on the day of resurrection. Okay, I think we'll start. I was told to give a talk today about the Day of Judgment. Now, I'll keep it short, 10-15 minutes, just so we can benefit all from it, just by thinking about it. And I wanted to give the talk not as a message to you, but as a message to myself as well. Because I wanted to think about how does the Day of Judgment motivate me in my life, in my day-to-day life. I'll give a short talk talking about the Day of Judgment, the description of it, one short description of it, some of the lessons we can learn from it, how we can apply it to our life. And inshallah, at the end, I'll ask around what you think the conclusion of this talk should be. So inshallah, we can all input to that. Hopefully the elders can input to that conclusion. And if at any point you want to make a comment, feel free to do so. So why is this topic important? I think we all live in this country and we all face challenges at work, at school, in our life, family, in our relationships, married, children, and sometimes it becomes very difficult sticking to Islam. Now, the Day of Judgment has been described to us very clearly, and it should be used as a motivation because this is the end point where we're all going to be standing. And all our decisions should be based upon how we're going to feel on that day. So to feel that, you need to have a description about that day, so we can really affect us emotionally. So what's going to happen on the Day of Judgment? Allah tells us in many hadiths by Muhammad that on the Day of Judgment, the sun will be brought close. It will be like about a mile from them. So you can imagine that. When I'm reading this, we need to think that this is not like a fairy tale. This is not like Humpty Dumpty and the Seven Dwarfs, is it? Or something else? These are not fairy stories. This is actually going to happen to all of us. Our parents, us, you, our children, our best friends, our teachers in school. It can happen to everyone. So we're going to be standing there. The sun's going to be so close to us. And mankind will sweat according to what they've done. So you know when you sweat, you will sweat on that day. And sweat will reach to the ankles of some people. And for some people it will be up to their waist. Some people it will up to their mouths. So this is actually going to happen. People around us are going to be on that day standing with no clothes on, sweating out of fear. And depending on how good we were in this life, the sweat will reach ankles here or all the way up to our earlobes. Now that's actually going to happen. And Allah Muhammad says, mankind will stand before Allah, the Rabb of this world, on the day of resurrection, and some of them will be submerged in perspiration up to half of their ears. So again, another hadith telling us about what's actually going to happen. Now on this day, you've got to realize everyone's going to be standing there. Donald Trump, Qasim Soleimani, the one who was just assassinated. Did you see the news? Everyone will be standing there. Ayatollah Khomeini, me, you, our parents. And it's an interesting point that when we think about our leaders in the world, see how powerful they are. When we look about Trump and Boris Johnson, how powerful and strong they are. Allah tells us on that day, He will say, Allah will grasp and fold the heavens, and then He will say, I am the king, where are the kings? It's quite scary to be in a position of power on that day. Being in power now is very strong. You know, I'm the boss, I can do what I like. Donald Trump's the boss, he can do what he likes, he can say what he wants on Twitter. You know, they all think they're very strong. But can you imagine when you're sweating so much, then Allah comes to you and says, I am the king, where are the kings of the earth? SubhanAllah, that's quite a scary thought. Now, this is going to be the situation around us on the Day of Judgment. Now, how does this day compare to our life here in terms of length? So anyone have a guess how long they say the Day of Judgment is going to be? 50,000 years. Higher, lower, anyone else?
No, this life like a blink of an eye compared to that day.
So I'll give you two hadiths. So then this is just a hadith, I'm going to read it, but you have to think about it and compare it to our life. On the Day of Judgment, the length of which will equal to 50,000 years, until judgment is passed amongst the people. So that day will last 50,000 years. There's another hadith. Moses was with the people and he heard a noise. And people say, what's that noise? He says, do you know what that was? He says, Allah and His Messenger know best. That's what the people said. And then he said, Moses said, that was a stone that was thrown into hellfire, and it took 70 years for it to land to the bottom. And the noise you heard was when it landed. So even that falling into hellfire took 70 years. Now let's put that into perspective, our life. How long is an average person live? Have a guess. In UK. Average person in Somalia, Bangladesh. Now, falling down takes 70 years. The Day of Judgment lasts, what would you say? 80? 50,000 years. Now when you hear the hadith that we should be like a traveller on this earth, does that make more sense? That if the Day of Judgment, not hell and heaven, the Day of Judgment, just the judging, is going to take 50,000 years, we have to do some ratios to figure out what percentage of do we live and how long do we stand there waiting to be judged. So it puts life into perspective, that this life is very short. If you live 60, 20 of them you waste sitting at home, the later of them you spend in a nursing home, and in the middle you spend most of the time working anyway. So it puts life into big perspective that makes sure we don't go wrong. Now what perspective does that do? It makes a difference when we do choose what kind of jobs we want. Because this day of judgment is going to be so long, don't mess up your life now and be in a terrible position on the day of judgment. What type of marriages you want when you're picking a wife or picking a husband? For sisters watching, obviously, not here. You have to choose wisely. Who is going to help you on the day of judgment? Choose your friends wisely. And I think Imam Shafi, I've got a picture here. He made a very nice point. Where's he gone? He said, Imam Shafi said, if you have a friend who assists you in obedience to Allah, then hold tight to him. For indeed, keeping a friend is difficult, but losing him is easy. So choose your friends wisely. If you have a friend who makes you more Islamic, stick to that person tightly. Because on the day of judgment, you're going to be very grateful for that person. Now, when does day of judgment start? How long have we got left? Some people think it's so far away. Like day of judgment, that's going to be like ages away. So what do we think? When will it start? Have a guess. How many years? Oh, you can't guess. How many years? The truth is, it'll start as soon as you're dead. Because you can't change anything after that anyway. So the day of judgment for you has started. More or less. Because you can't change anything now. And when are you going to die? You don't know. You could die today, you could die next year, you could die 10 years, 20 years. Hence, you need to make sure you've done everything that you're ready for that exam. When you have an exam, you prepare. January next year I've got an exam, you prepare. You plan it out. Day of judgment, you don't know when it's going to be. You need to make sure you're prepared every day for it. Now, one interesting thing. So on that day, Allah tells us, O mankind, fear your Lord. The convulsions of the hour of judgment will be a terrible thing. So meaning, you will be very fearful of that day. The day you shall see every suckling mother forget her baby, and every pregnant female delivering her unformed pregnancy. You shall see mankind as if intoxicated. Meaning, you will be so scared on that day of judgment, the mother will forget her child. Now on that day, you can have people coming to you and saying, I'm so scared. Give me some of your good deeds. I need help. Now imagine if your parent said to you, oh, go to the shop, get some milk. You'd go. If your dad said to you, give me £1, you'll give it. Now I want you all to say one thing. Say Alhamdulillah. After 3, 1, 2, 3, say it. Now you will not be prepared to give the reward for that Alhamdulillah to your parent on the day of judgment. Your parent will ask you, can I take one reward? That reward for that Alhamdulillah, you will say, no, I'm not giving it to you, Dad. I'm not giving it to you, my best friend, or my wife. I'm not giving it to anyone. I need it. So it's a very powerful reminder that Alhamdulillah that you just said, you will not give it to anyone. So that is the value of good deeds. Now, so if that's the value of good deeds, you need to make sure you accumulate as much as you can. That little one deed will mean so much. Now it's an interesting point. There's some guy who's doing very good deeds. And he said to him, I'll read it out. Allah will give him his record on the day of judgment. He said, oh Allah, this is not my record, because I cannot find the good deeds performed by me in it. So one person will be given his deeds on the day of judgment, and he'll say, where's all my good deeds? This is not mine. Allah will say, your Lord does not err or forget. So obviously Allah didn't make a mistake. Your good deeds have disappeared due to backbiting about the people. Now imagine that, Alhamdulillah, you were not prepared to give to your parent or your friend. Imagine your worst enemy, who you were talking bad about, because obviously you backbite against the people you don't like, and they've taken your good deeds. So all those good deeds, they're gone. So we need to protect ourselves against backbiting. Another thing that's very important when we do good deeds is intention. You may think you've done loads of good deeds. There's loads of hadiths, there's a long one, so I'm not going to read it out, I'll give a summary. About the scholar. He says, I was a scholar, and I will get my Where's my reward, basically? He'll say, you were a scholar, so people can say you're a learned person. So be very careful about having the wrong intention. If you do a good deed, make sure you do it with the right intention. When you give money, hide and give it. Don't give it so people can see you. There's one person who was a warrior. He'll say, I'm a warrior, I fought for you. He said, no, you fought so people can say you're brave. Be very careful, because all these people were dragged to the hellfire. So we don't want to be doing good deeds so people can see, oh, mashallah, he's amazing. Always keep that intention clear. Another thing to remember, all our sins that we've done in this world would be on show. Everyone can see them, except, there's a hadith, whoever covers the sins of a Muslim, Allah will cover his sins on the Day of Judgment. So we all do sins, wrong things, and we don't want people to know about it. This is embarrassing. On that day, all their sins will be freely to see, except for the person who hides the sins of the other people. So very motivational. You know, it's a big benefit to gain that you can hide the sins of other people, and Allah will hide yours. Now talking about the bridge. Anyone heard about that bridge on the Day of Judgment? So you have to cross a bridge. The thin as a hair, sharp. Now obviously you want to get over this bridge as fast as possible. Some believers will go over this bridge, blink of an eye, cross it. Some people will be dragged across their faces. Now imagine, obviously this is depending on our good deeds. So imagine how much we would want to have prayed the extra nafil, the extra tasbih, to make sure we can cross that bridge as fast as possible. And this is where one issue comes into mind about some people will have light to cross the bridge and some people will have no light. So imagine how scared you will be if you had no light. If you turn the lights off, it will be pitch black. Crossing that bridge will be very fearful. So we need to think, what are the things that can bring light on that day? And there's many hadiths that talk about glad tidings to those who walk to the mosque in the darkness, for they will be given full light on the day of resurrection. This is talking about praying in the mosque for Fajr and Isha. When you walk to the mosque in the darkness, Allah will give you light on the Day of Judgment. So we should think about this. To get this light, let's do this simple action. Get to the mosque for Isha and Fajr. And on that day when you're crossing that bridge, Allah will give you light. But now the question is, what actions, we know now the value of an action on the Day of Judgment, and we know how scary that day is going to be. And you know how desperately you're going to need your good deeds. Which actions should you busy yourself with in this life? Which ones are the strong ones to go for? Obviously, if you, like when you do work, at Christmas time, double time, you get double pay. Everyone says, I'm going to work. Because that's the time you get the most money. So I'm going to go there, work there. Or people say, oh, Qatar pays me triple. I'm going to go to Qatar to work there. So you one job pays more, one job pays higher. You choose the one that pays higher because you want to spend your time getting the most money. So same way with reward. Surely you should busy yourself with actions that you get the most reward for. So what are the things that are the most rewardful? Have a guess. Anything? Well, anything can be most rewardful, but have a think. Which actions are the most rewardful? Salah. There's a hadith about if you do things, the best deeds are if you remind me anyone, the best deeds are the ones you do regularly. Anyone remember? Why is that a good advice? Because imagine you go to the gym, you spend 1 month hardcore training and then you stop, you gain all the fat back again. But if you do something regular, your body stays fit. That's why regular good deeds are important. Salah is important. Saving someone's life. You get the reward of saving mankind. Imagine the reward for that. Now, this is where I want to touch on another thing. Every generation has a challenge. The challenge of some of the Sahaba, the challenge at the time of Muhammad was to establish a state where Islam can be implemented and that can invite people to Islam. That was their challenge. Another challenge was the Sahaba found out that all the people who learned the Quran, they were passing away. So there was no written Quran. So the challenge for that time was, let's write the Quran. There's another challenge. People were passing away because they're getting old or in battle. All the sayings of the Prophet, where are they? So the challenge for that time was, let's get all the hadiths compiled. Another time, the Mongols came and ransacked Baghdad. They took over Egypt and took over most of the Islamic State. The challenge for that time was to win this war. Every generation has challenges. So what's our challenge today? This challenge is going to be heavy in reward. So what is our challenge today? Yes? So today we have a situation where Islam is demonized and the Western way of life is, we're told, it's superior. This is a big challenge of our generation, to reverse that. To show people that Islam is correct and it's a correct way of solving all problems, and liberalism, capitalism, the Western way of life, it's a failure. It's caused so many problems in the world. All the starvation in Africa, you have to read about this. What caused all of this? The IMF loans. This way of life has caused a lot of misery, loneliness, depression. Why are they so high in these countries? So Western way of life has failed a lot. Islam has a lot to offer. This is the big challenge of today. If you are part of this work to resume Islamic way of life, how many mosques will get built? How many people will become Muslim? How many people will be saved from poverty and starvation? Because Islam, we care about the poor people. If you're part of this work, the reward for this will be immense. And I'll finish this with one hadith. I love this hadith because it gives you a lot of motivation. This is talking about us, our time. It's a slightly long one, but bear with it. It's very motivational. Some people will come on the day of judgment with their iman will be outstanding. It is a light will shine from their chests and from their right hand. So imagine on a day your iman will come from your chest and the right hand. He said, and Muhammad ﷺ said, glad tidings for you today. Assalamu alaikum, and goodness for you. Enter into Jannah. That's what will be said to them. So the angels and the prophets will be jealous of the love of Allah for them. The Sahaba were around. They asked, who are these people? That's such a high status. Imagine that scary nature of the day of judgment. These people had iman shining out their chest, and Allah will say, glad tidings, here's Jannah. The Sahaba asked, who are they? And Muhammad said, they are not from us and they are not from you. He's not saying they're not from the Prophet and not from the Sahaba. You are my companions, but they are my beloved. These will come after you and will find the book, the Quran, made redundant by the people. The people would have forgotten the Quran. And the Sunnah, which has been killed by them. Meaning there'll be no Islam anywhere. They will grab hold of the book and the Sunnah and revive it. They will bring back Islam. Just like today, we don't have Islam. They'll bring it back. And then they will read them and they will teach them the Quran and Sunnah, so the people will be experienced. Okay, that's fine. And then he says, the iman of one of them is equivalent to 40 of you. The shaheed of one of them is equivalent to 40 of your shuhada. Because you found a helper towards the truth, i.e. the Prophet. They had the Prophet, and they will have no helper. So this is a very important point now. This is explaining our time. The Quran and Sunnah has been destroyed. Do we have a helper? No, we don't have prophets. But we have to stand and carry this message and join the work to carry this message. And our iman, if we can be, inshallah, we can all be part of this hadith, our iman will shine out our chest and right hand as a light on the day of judgment. So inshallah we should pray that we are part of this group. Because this is talking about our time. So in conclusion, what's the conclusion? I said, you lot can chip in. What's the conclusion? 3 points. Always tell Shafi, finish your talk with 3 points. Never listens. Naeem was 1 point.
Oh, the conclusion.
Yeah, what conclusion could we draw from this talk?
I say we need to reflect more on our actions daily. I think a lot of times like it was a really nice backdrop you gave in terms of the Day of Judgment. Now, on a daily basis, we live in a place where it's cool to be ignorant. It's cool to be backbiting. It's cool to be slandering people. It's cool to be part of these groups that look down at other people. You have to talk in a certain way, walk in a certain way. You have to somebody who's practicing, they're honest, they look soft, he's soft, they don't want to hang around with him and stuff like that. So it should give us a reflection and make us more independent as to who we are. I was speaking to some kids at the gym and I was saying to them, I bet you don't act like that at home, or you don't act like that in front of your dad, or you don't act like... We are like these switch personalities, we've got double behaviour personalities. We are one way with our friends and we're one way with our dad. One way here, one way... And the thing I think from here, with that backdrop, we should reflect on, why am I changing for these people? Why am I changing at home? Why can't I be the same person I am here and the same person at home? And have that reflective mentality that, you know what, I'm going to be honest here and I'm going to do something because I'm going to be accountable for this. Like I said, for the 50,000 years, a big chunk of that is going to be me and Allah alone. And at that time, I've got nowhere to hide. There's nobody I can go behind. So why am I different with my friends and why am I different here? I think it should be a good reflection for us.
One thing, the value of the good deed. Alhamdulillah, you will not give to your dad. So when you sitting down in mosque, just read tasbih, an extra. If you did this every day, you will not. This will be like gold dust for you on the Day of Judgment. So busy yourself with good deeds. Don't mess up your intention, and also concentrate on the heavy deeds. The heavy deeds is the dawah to Islam. That's the heavy deed, because on the back of that, so many things will emanate. So if we busy ourselves with the heavy deeds, inshallah, Allah will give us victory as a ummah and also make us victorious on the Day of Judgment. Any comments from anyone?
Yeah, that's one thing similar to Naheem said, that whatever we do should be doing it to please Allah and not other people. Because on that day, these people will not help you. Even if they wish in this life to help you, in that life they will not. Yeah, so whatever we do should be just to please Allah, because He is the only helper in that day, and He's the one that owns that kingdom, this one and that one. He's the one that will own the Day of Judgment, and He's the one that will send us to Jannah, inshallah.
We're all humans. We will all make mistakes, and that's why even Allah motivates us by saying, Allah loves the one who asks for forgiveness, he does sins and asks for forgiveness. So Allah wants to forgive us for all our sins, and we need to busy ourselves by pleasing Allah, because if Allah is pleased with us here, He will be pleased with us then. And that's a big issue. And also, make sure you spend your time around people who motivate you. Yes, we will all make mistakes, but if we're in a group of friends, one person can correct the other can correct that person. No one's an angel. We all make mistakes, but you need to be in the company to help each other. And also reflect, how long is the Day of Judgment compared to our life? So when you're going through difficult times, remember, our life is only short, so don't compromise.
When we talk about ideas like this,